Welcome back. Lincoln currency. Imagine you are holding a small coin between your fingers, light as a feather and copper-colored on the surface, though the truth of its composition is not as simple as it appears. This is the 1994 1-cent coin, commonly called the penny, and though it is one of the most common coins in the United States, its story is richer than most people realize. At first glance it looks like nothing more than spare change, the kind of coin that collects at the bottom of pockets or falls between car seats, but like every coin, it carries a story that begins at the U.S. Mint and stretches across decades of American history. On its obverse, or front side, is the dignified profile of President Abraham Lincoln facing to the right, a design that has been used on the cent since 1909 when the country marked the centennial of Lincoln's birth. The sculptor Victor David Brenner created the portrait, capturing Lincoln's thoughtful expression. Around Lincoln's head, as always, is the motto "In God We Trust" at the top, the word liberty on the left, and the date 1994 on the right. Depending on where it was minted, you may see a small letter under the date, either AD for Denver or no mark at all for Philadelphia. The reverse of the 1994 penny still displays the classic Lincoln Memorial design, which had been in use since 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Sculptor Frank Gasparo designed this reverse, which shows the neoclassical monument in Washington, D.C., framed by the words United States of America above, the Latin phrase e pluribus unum meaning, out of many, one, just below that, and the denomination 1 cent at the bottom. Even in miniature, the coin captures the details of the memorial, with its columns and steps. In fact, with magnification, you can see the tiny figure of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a tribute to the larger statue within the actual structure. The physical details of the 1994 penny are straightforward. The diameter is precisely 19.05 millimeters. It weighs 2.50 grams. Its composition is a copper-plated zinc alloy, with 97.5% zinc at its core and a thin 2.5% copper plating on the outside to give it the traditional penny color. This copper-plated zinc composition began in 1982 when the rising cost of copper made the older bronze composition, 95% copper and 5% zinc or tin, too expensive. By 1994, the copper-plated zinc pennies had been in production for more than a decade, and the minting process had become standard. In 1994, production of the penny was massive. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 6.5 billion pennies, and the Denver Mint struck over 7 billion more. That means more than 13 billion 1994 pennies were made in total. With such enormous numbers, most 1994 pennies are extremely common and carry no special value in circulated condition. For most of the coins that passed through millions of hands, their worth today is still just 1 cent. But in the world of coin collecting, there are exceptions, and those exceptions can make all the difference. Most collectors pay attention to two things when it comes to value: condition and rarity. Condition is measured on a grading scale, with grades like MS, short for mint state, reserved for coins that have never been in circulation. A 1994 penny in MS-60 condition is technically uncirculated but may have marks or spots. Higher grades like MS-65, MS-66, and MS-67 indicate coins with very few imperfections, often struck sharply with brilliant original luster. An MS-68 coin is near perfect, and MS-69 is almost flawless. In rare cases, a few coins have been certified as MS-69 red, the red designation meaning the copper color is full and original without toning or spotting. These are the coins that can fetch hundreds or even a few $1,000s at auction, because finding a 1994 penny in such pristine state is not easy. Beyond condition, the second key factor is rarity, and this is where mint errors and varieties enter the picture. While the vast majority of 1994 pennies are ordinary, a small number left the mint with striking errors. These include off-center strikes, where the design is shifted because the blank planchet was not perfectly centered in the press. It can also include die cracks, where the dies used to strike the coins developed small breaks that left raised lines on the coin. Some 1994 pennies show double die errors, in which parts of the design appear double due to a slight misalignment during the die-making process. Certain double die reverses can make a coin worth far more than face value. In earlier years, there are also famous, wide AM, or close AM, varieties where the spacing of the letters A and M in America is unusual. In 1994, these are much less common but still something collectors look for just in case. The market value for a standard 1994 penny in circulated condition is negligible. Its melt value, based on the zinc content, is less than a cent. In uncirculated condition, an MS-65 red 1994 penny might sell for a couple of dollars. In MS-67 red, the price can jump to around $50 to $100. At MS-68 red, depending on demand, a coin might bring in $100 to $200. The single known MS-69 red examples can reach several $1,000s in auctions. Rare error coins can sometimes sell for a few $100s depending on the type of error and how dramatic it appears. Stories of coins selling for hundreds of thousands or millions almost always come from misunderstandings or internet exaggerations, not from actual auction results. What makes the 1994 penny interesting in a collector's sense is less about any one extraordinary example and more about how it represents the transition period of late 20th century coinage. It comes from an era before the 2009 redesign, before the Lincoln Bicentennial Series, and before the penny became the subject of serious discussion about discontinuation due to production costs. In 1994, the penny was still an everyday workhorse of American commerce, passed from hand to hand in change, filling piggy banks, and rolling through coin-counting machines by the millions. That if you're inspecting a 1994 penny today, the first step is to look closely at the condition. If it's heavily worn with scratches, dark toning, or corrosion, it is worth 1 cent. If it has bright luster, no wear, and minimal marks, it could be worth setting aside, especially if you think it might grade MS-66 or higher. Using a magnifying glass or coin loop, check the date, mint mark, and the letters for signs of doubling or unusual spacing. Examine the reverse for any misalignment of the Lincoln Memorial, extra lines, or other oddities that could point to a mint error. When we look deeper into the 1994 penny, we start to see how certain myths and exaggerated claims emerge, especially around the supposed astronomical values you sometimes hear, stories about a single 1994 penny being worth hundreds of thousands or even over $400 million. These numbers almost always start in viral posts or social media videos designed to grab attention, but there is an interesting truth behind why people even believe such values could exist. In rare coin history, there have been coins with astronomical values, but those are typically unique pieces like early pattern coins, historic double eagles, or minting mistakes of legendary rarity. A 1994 penny, being so modern and mass-produced, could not possibly reach such a valuation without an extraordinary and unprecedented backstory, such as a unique error of massive historical importance. Even then, $432 million is far beyond the highest auction price ever paid for any coin in history. The current record, for perspective, is just over $18 million for the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle. So why do these huge claims persist? Part of it is misunderstanding about the market. A common coin like the 1994 penny can still be worth significant amounts in top condition because coins in nearly flawless condition are rare. It's not rarity of mintage, but rarity of grade. When billions are made, almost all go into circulation. The small number set aside directly from the mint in rolls or mint sets can sometimes survive in high grades, but even those can tone or spot over time. The few that survive in true near-perfect mint state are what create spikes in price guides. This is where you'll find the real premium values, and those values are still in the hundreds or low thousands, not in the millions. There are also cases of special varieties that have driven collector excitement. Although the 1994 penny is not known for a famous design variety like the 1992 close AM or 1999 wide AM, collectors still check the reverse spacing in case of a rare transitional die usage. In the world of error coins, a misaligned die, a striking error, or even a double denomination strike can transform an ordinary penny into a coin worth hundreds or thousands depending on how dramatic the error is. Imagine a 1994 penny accidentally struck over a dime or nickel blank. Such an error would be highly unusual and instantly desirable to collectors. The history of the penny also plays a role in its perceived mystique. The Lincoln cent is the longest-running design in U.S. coinage history, first issued in 1909 and still in use today. The original wheat ear reverse ran from 1909 to 1958, replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial design seen on the 1994 issue. The Memorial reverse continued until 2008, before being replaced in 2009 by a special bicentennial series and then the current Shield reverse starting in 2010. The 1994 penny falls neatly into that 50-year Memorial series, a period of continuity for the cent's design. For collectors, each year represents a snapshot of the era's minting quality, production numbers, and metallurgical standards. Looking at mintages specifically, the 1994 D penny from Denver had a mintage exceeding 7 billion coins, while the 1994 from Philadelphia topped 6 billion. With such huge production, neither coin is scarce. However, within that vast production are the microscopic differences that collectors hunt for: die chips, doubling, misalignments, and other small quirks. Even the edges of the coin, the raised rims, are examined for strike strength. Coins with full, sharp rims and bold details in Lincoln's hair and the Memorial steps will always stand out to graders. The weight of the coin, 2.50 grams, is another interesting detail when it comes to identifying errors. A standard penny with copper plating will weigh very close to that mark. A coin that weighs significantly less or more could indicate a striking on the wrong planchet, a mint error that can dramatically increase value. Some 1994 pennies have been found with plating bubbles caused by imperfect bonding of the copper layer to the zinc core. While minor bubbles are common and usually have no added value, larger or dramatic blistering can sometimes interest error collectors. The marketplace for 1994 pennies is fairly stable, with certified high-grade coins consistently bringing strong prices at auction. A 1994 penny graded MS-68 red can bring between $200 and $400 depending on the buyer's interest at the time. A few exceptional coins, graded MS-69 red, have brought even more, sometimes approaching $5,000 or more when the population is very low. Error coins can vary wildly. Some off-center strikes might be worth $50, others several hundred if the error is dramatic enough to be obvious without magnification. Double die errors, if bold, can command hundreds. The legend of a $432 million 1994 penny remains firmly in the realm of rumor and viral myth, but the psychological appeal is undeniable. People love the idea that an ordinary coin in their pocket might secretly be worth a fortune. This excitement drives interest in coin collecting itself, encouraging people to examine their change more carefully, to learn about mint marks, designs, weights, and varieties. In truth, while you are unlikely to find a 1994 penny worth anywhere near such staggering amounts, the thrill of the hunt is real. Every rare variety discovered, every error coin identified, came from someone looking closely at what others overlooked. The economics of the penny in 1994 are also worth noting. By this time, the switch from mostly copper to mostly zinc had been in place for over a decade. Copper prices were fluctuating, but zinc was still cheaper, making production viable. Yet even then, the production cost was nearing the face value. Today, the cost to produce a penny exceeds its face value, sparking debates about whether to eliminate the denomination altogether. If that were to happen, all pennies, including 1994 issues, would technically become obsolete, though they would remain legal tender. Obsolescence often drives increased collector interest, as we've seen with other discontinued coins. At the heart of it all, the 1994 penny is a symbol of both continuity and change. It is a coin that most people overlook, yet within its billions of examples are rare survivors that gleam with perfect luster or display unusual minting quirks. It's a reminder that in numismatics, value often hides in plain sight, waiting for the right collector, the right discovery, or the right moment in the market to reveal itself. The Lincoln cent story is so deeply woven into American history that by the time we reach 1994, it has already become an icon, a small piece of metal carrying more symbolic weight than its face value could ever suggest. When Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln was first introduced in 1909, it marked the first time a real person, and specifically a U.S. president, was featured on American circulating coinage. Over the decades that followed, the design became so familiar that generations of Americans grew up with Lincoln's profile as a constant presence in their daily lives. By 1994, the penny had survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, economic booms and recessions, and multiple shifts in production metal, yet its basic appearance remained unchanged. The design continuity itself is part of what draws collectors to even seemingly ordinary years like 1994, because each date marks a moment in the ongoing timeline. In the mid-1990s, coin collecting was enjoying a resurgence thanks to a growing number of coin shows, publications, and third-party grading services that made it easier to buy and sell with confidence. The Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, were well established by this point, and coins like the 1994 cent began to see submissions in large numbers. Collectors weren't just looking for rare varieties, they were seeking the highest grades available. The demand for perfectly struck, perfectly preserved coins was creating a premium market for modern issues in ultra-high grades. A 1994 cent that might look unremarkable to the untrained eye could, if certified at MS68 or MS69 red, become a prized piece for registry set collectors competing for top-ranked sets of Lincoln Memorial cents. The registry set phenomenon is important to understanding why certain coins achieve surprising values. Collectors participating in registry competitions aim to assemble complete sets of coins with the highest possible grades. Because the competition is based on grade, the few coins certified at the very top grades become extremely desirable. If, for example, there are only 2 or 3 examples of a 1994 penny graded MS69 red, those coins can spark bidding wars at auction because owning one can significantly boost a collector's registry ranking. This is where prices in the thousands emerge for coins that are otherwise common in lower grades. It's not rarity in mintage that drives the value, but rarity in condition. Turning to the international market, US cents, even modern ones, have a global collector base. The Lincoln cent is one of the most recognized coins worldwide, and collectors in countries like Canada, the UK, Australia, and throughout Europe often seek them out as part of larger world coin collections. In some cases, collectors focus on particular years of personal significance, birth years, anniversaries, or historic moments. The year 1994 itself holds different associations for different people, and sometimes that personal connection can increase demand for pristine examples of the coin. The claim that a single 1994 penny could be worth $432 million is not just an exaggeration, it is a reflection of how the internet amplifies fascination with rare coins. People hear about a coin like the 1943 copper cent, of which only a few dozen are known, selling for over $200,000, and they imagine that any penny could be similarly valuable if only they found the right variety. They see headlines about the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar selling for over $10 million and assume that modern coins could achieve similar heights. But coins that reach those levels are almost always unique, historically significant, and the subject of decades of intense collector pursuit. Number 1994 penny has ever sold for more than a few $1,000s at most, and yet the myth persists because it's captivating to imagine that something so small and common could be a hidden treasure. There's another layer to this fascination: the penny's declining role in commerce. By 1994, inflation had already eroded the purchasing power of the cent, and it was largely used to make exact change rather than buy anything substantial. Discussions about discontinuing the penny were already underway, though they had not yet gained the political traction they would see in later years. Coins on the verge of being discontinued often see a bump in collector interest. The 1994 penny represents a point in time when the coin was still fully in production but already part of a conversation about its future. This adds to its appeal as a collectible marker of its era. Collectors examining 1994 pennies today might notice subtle differences in strike quality between the Philadelphia and Denver issues. Some Denver cents have slightly stronger strikes, while some Philadelphia coins may show minor weakness in the details of Lincoln's hair or the memorial steps. These differences are small, but in the world of grading, every detail matters. Coins with sharp detail, full luster, and minimal marks are the ones that rise to the top of the population reports. A perfect example will have blazing copper-red surfaces, no carbon spots, and strong detail even under magnification. The physical handling of a 1994 penny also plays a role in its survival in top condition. Most were struck, bagged, shipped, and poured into bank vaults before entering circulation. Coins from mint sets or bank-wrapped rolls stand the best chance of being preserved in high grade. But even those rolls, if stored improperly, can produce coins with toning, spotting, or microscopic scratches. This is why the few that do make it to MS68 or higher are so rare. They survive not only the minting process but also decades of storage without environmental damage. While the $432 million claim may be an extreme fantasy, it speaks to something deeper about human nature, the hope of discovering unexpected wealth. This hope is what keeps people looking through their change, flipping over each coin, and learning more about the details of minting, history, and the coin market. In truth, the real treasure is often the knowledge and experience gained from this search. The 1994 penny may not hold a multi-million-dollar surprise, but it holds an enduring place in numismatic culture, a bridge between the past and present of American coinage. When we explore the psychology behind why coins like the 1994 penny keep drawing so much attention, even in the absence of documented examples worth hundreds of thousands, we have to recognize the very human desire for discovery and the romance of hidden value. Every coin is a physical artifact, minted in a specific place, at a specific time, and then set loose into the world. The sheer volume of circulation means that a single 1994 penny could have traveled through thousands of hands, crossed multiple states, or even journeyed abroad in someone's pocket. That journey in itself is fascinating. This tiny piece of copper-plated zinc becomes a witness to decades of economic life. The allure comes from the idea that out of billions, perhaps one coin is different enough to be a prize. It's the same spark that drives people to check old attic boxes, search flea markets, and examine garage sale finds. In terms of genuine numismatic value, the reality of the 1994 penny comes down to condition, rarity, and error varieties. We know billions were produced, so scarcity in mintage is not the factor. But condition is everything. The population reports from grading companies tell the story. Tens of thousands of 1994 cents have been submitted, but only a fraction survive at MS68 red, and even fewer at MS69. This bottleneck in condition creates the market tension. For collectors assembling top registry sets, a single point difference in grade can translate into hundreds or thousands of dollars of difference in value. That is why an ordinary seeming 1994 cent in almost flawless condition can sell for prices that seem surprising to the casual observer. The other driver of value is mint errors. With billions of coins produced, even a tiny error rate means thousands of error coins exist, but only a small fraction are dramatic enough to attract serious collector interest. An off-center strike that shifts the design by 5% might be mildly interesting. One that shifts the design by 50% with visible missing parts of the coin's rim can be worth significantly more. Double die obverse or reverse varieties, if bold enough to be visible without magnification, can also bring in strong prices. Coins struck on the wrong planchet, say, a cent design struck on a dime blank, are rare and highly sought after. These errors are almost always discovered by attentive collectors who search through rolls of coins from banks, an activity sometimes called roll hunting. Outside the technical market, the narrative of the $432 million penny continues because it fuels curiosity. It's worth remembering that the internet amplifies certain numbers and claims for attention. People share videos and articles that promise huge values for ordinary coins, and while most of the specific claims are exaggerated or false, the underlying message that certain coins can be valuable is true, just not at the scale the headlines suggest. The most expensive Lincoln cents in history, such as the 1943 copper cent or the 1944 steel cent, have sold for amounts in the hundreds of thousands, and those are coins with extraordinary rarity and historical context. A 1994 penny, by contrast, has neither the extreme rarity nor the historic anomaly to justify such values, but that doesn't stop the excitement around the idea. Globally, the US cent has an interesting position in the numismatic world. Many collectors outside the United States collect Lincoln cents as part of a broader interest in U.S. coinage. The Lincoln cent is seen as both approachable and iconic. In countries where small denominations have been retired or inflation has reduced their value to almost nothing, the penny is also a curiosity, an artifact of a monetary system still clinging to the smallest coin. The 1994 issue, falling squarely in the middle of the memorial reverse era, is a common date in world coin collections, but high-grade certified examples can still attract buyers overseas, especially in markets where top-quality modern U.S. coins are harder to source economically. 1994 was also an interesting year in minting because it came during a period of consistent production quality, without the metal shortages or dramatic design changes that characterized earlier decades. The zinc-core penny was well established by this point, the minting process refined, and the demand for small coins still high enough to justify massive production runs. Yet the seeds of the penny's eventual debate about its future were already planted. It's fascinating to consider that in 1994, no one would have thought twice about the penny's continued production, yet less than 2 decades later, serious discussions about eliminating it became mainstream. In hindsight, coins like the 1994 cent are part of the final era before the penny became a subject of national debate. Collectors today still search for 1994 cents in original mint packaging, uncirculated mint sets, proof sets, and bank-wrapped rolls, because those are the most likely sources of top-grade coins. Over time, even these sources dry up as rolls are opened, coins are mishandled, or surfaces begin to tone. The law of supply and demand gradually shifts in favor of the few pristine survivors. This is one of the reasons why even modern coins can slowly rise in value over decades, not because the coins are inherently rare at mintage, but because the number of perfect survivors shrinks. In thinking about the massive $432 million claim, it's useful to compare it to the actual record-holding coins. The 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle sold for over $18 million because it is one of the rarest legal coins in existence, tied to a historic moment when almost the entire mintage was melted. The 1794 flowing hair silver dollar sold for over $10 million because it is the earliest silver dollar ever struck by the United States. These are coins with monumental numismatic significance. A 1994 penny, even in perfect condition, will never be in that category, but understanding this contrast helps frame why people still look. It's not because they truly expect $432 million, but because they enjoy imagining what it would feel like if such a discovery were possible. The story of the 1994 penny becomes even richer when we place it alongside some of the most famous Lincoln cents in numismatic history, because this comparison highlights both the reality of its value and the reason collectors keep searching. One of the best-known examples is the 1943 copper cent, struck at a time when the U.S. Mint had switched to zinc-coated steel to conserve copper for the war effort. A small number of copper planchets from 1942 were accidentally left in the coin presses, and they were struck into 1943 coins by mistake. These pennies, visually almost identical to other copper cents from before the switch, became legendary because of their extreme rarity. Fewer than 2 dozen are known to exist across all mints, and each has sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction. When people hear about this, they immediately wonder if there could be some similar hidden rarity in more modern dates like 1994. The 1955 double-die obverse cent is another famous example. That coin became legendary because the doubling on the date and inscriptions was so dramatic that it could be seen without magnification. When the error was discovered, thousands had already entered circulation, and the coin became a collector sensation. The story of people checking their change for a coin that could be worth far more than its face value is one that continues to echo through the hobby. Each generation seems to have its own set of coins to look for, and while the 1994 penny has no equivalent famous double die, collectors still hope for new discoveries, because the idea of an undiscovered major variety is tantalizing. In comparison, the 1994 penny is a standard memorial reverse design struck in massive numbers, but that doesn't mean the story ends there. The market for ultra-high-grade modern coins means that a perfect example can still command an impressive price. For registry collectors, every coin matters. A top-ranked set of memorial cents might be missing a single MS-69 red 1994, and when one appears at auction, competition can drive the price higher than most people would expect. It's a dynamic that operates below the level of mainstream attention but is well understood within numismatic circles. This collector psychology is a key piece of the puzzle. People are drawn to coins not just for their potential monetary value but also for the narrative they carry. A coin is a piece of history, and each date has its own context. The year 1994 sits in an era of technological expansion, economic stability, and cultural transition. The Lincoln cent from that year is part of a coinage landscape that reflects both tradition and change. The design remained the same, but the world around it was shifting toward digital economies, with the internet beginning to emerge and the role of physical currency evolving. This historical context, subtle though it may be, becomes part of the appeal to future collectors. Looking at the marketplace today, a 1994 penny in typical circulated condition is worth its face value, perhaps a few cents if sold in bulk as part of copper-plated zinc lots. But at the highest certified grades, prices can reach hundreds or even a few $1,000s for coins in MS-69 red, if the population is extremely low. Proof coins from the same year, struck for collectors in special sets, can also have value if perfectly preserved. The wild figure of $432 million remains a fantasy, a viral claim intended more to attract attention than reflect reality, but even this fantasy plays a role in keeping coins like the 1994 cent in the public conversation. One of the fascinating aspects of coin collecting is how myths and reality interact. The myth draws people in, encouraging them to search their change, to learn more about mint marks, to check for varieties. Along the way, some discover real treasures, not $432 million treasures, but coins worth hundreds or thousands. The process builds knowledge, skill, and appreciation for numismatics. The 1994 penny, by virtue of its year, design, and widespread availability, becomes a perfect starting point for new collectors. Its abundance means it's easy to find, and its potential for rare high-grade examples or errors means there is always a reason to look closer. The global perspective also adds to the richness of the story. In countries where the smallest denominations have been retired, the U.S. penny has become a collectible novelty. International buyers often seek rolls or bags of uncirculated coins from the 1990s as affordable ways to add to their collections. A pristine 1994 cent, even in raw ungraded form, might sell for more overseas simply because it is harder to find outside the United States in top condition. This global demand, while small compared to domestic collecting, still plays a role in supporting the market for coins from this era. The $432 million figure, while unrealistic, acts almost like a modern fairy tale in the coin world. It's the story people tell not because they expect to cash in, but because it keeps the spark of discovery alive. It reminds people to look closely, to pay attention, to imagine that the ordinary could become extraordinary. In this sense, the 1994 penny's greatest value may be the inspiration it provides, far beyond its actual market price. When we start talking about how coins like the 1994 penny are actually evaluated, we move into the world of grading, a system that has transformed numismatics from a casual hobby into a structured marketplace with defined standards. Grading takes what might seem like a subjective assessment of a coin's appearance and turns it into an industry-accepted evaluation. The most common grading scale is the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70. A grade of 1 means the coin is barely identifiable, so worn that only its date and type can be recognized. A grade of 70, on the other hand, represents a perfect coin, flawless even under 5x magnification. For the 1994 penny, the grades that command interest are at the very top of this scale. Circulated coins, no matter how nice they look to the naked eye, will rarely fetch more than face value. Even uncirculated coins, if they show contact marks or spots, might only achieve grades in the MS-63 to MS-65 range, which are common and inexpensive. The true premiums start appearing at MS-68 and above. This is where population reports from the major grading companies become important. If only a handful of coins have been certified at MS-69 red for a particular mint, competition for those few coins can drive auction prices into the thousands. The grading process itself is both art and science. A coin is submitted to a grading company, often in bulk by dealers or collectors seeking certification for an entire roll or batch. The coin is handled by experienced graders who examine it under controlled lighting, rotating it to evaluate luster, strike, and surface preservation. Every detail is scrutinized: tiny bag marks, die polish lines, subtle discoloration. Even the alignment of the strike can affect the final grade. For a copper-plated zinc penny like the 1994 cent, the most common issues are small spots of discoloration, faint scratches from the minting process, or slight weakness in the design details. A coin that escapes all of these imperfections is rare and valuable. Once graded, the coin is encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder, often called a slab, with its grade, certification number, and details clearly labeled. This encapsulation not only protects the coin but also provides liquidity in the market, because buyers can trust the grade without relying solely on photographs or personal inspection. For high-grade 1994 pennies, this encapsulation is crucial to achieving top prices. Auction houses have become the primary venue where these top-graded coins achieve their highest prices. Major auctions by firms like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers will often feature modern high-grade cents alongside rarer classic coins. It's in these settings that a 1994 penny-graded MS-69 red might surprise casual observers by selling for thousands. The audience for these sales is typically registry set collectors and advanced numismatists who understand the significance of top population coins. It's also worth noting that grading is not without controversy. Slight differences in grading judgment can create huge swings in value, and coins have been known to be resubmitted in the hope of achieving a higher grade. For a 1994 cent, the difference between MS-68 and MS-69 might be subtle, but it can translate into hundreds or thousands of dollars in value. This is why population reports must be viewed in the context of potential resubmissions, which can inflate or distort the perceived rarity of a grade. Beyond grading, there is also the question of varieties. While the 1994 cent does not have a famous double die or dramatic error that has entered mainstream awareness, collectors still examine each coin carefully for minor varieties. Repunched mint marks, slight die rotations, or even subtle differences in the memorial steps can all attract specialized interest. While these minor varieties do not command astronomical prices, they contribute to the ongoing attention paid to coins from this year. When the general public hears about a coin being worth $432 million, what they are often reacting to is the mystique of the grading and auction process. The idea that a coin could go from a jar in someone's kitchen to a high-profile auction sale is exciting, even if the actual values are much lower. It's the journey that captures the imagination, the moment when a coin is pulled from circulation, recognized for its quality, and elevated into the ranks of high-value collectibles. For the 1994 penny, the real story lies not in an outrageous dollar figure but in its place in the larger ecosystem of modern coin collecting. It is a product of a time when billions were struck, yet it still has the potential to stand out. In that way, it mirrors the broader human story, billions of ordinary moments, a few of which become extraordinary because of timing, preservation, and recognition. When we shift focus toward actual examples of 1994 pennies that have made their way into auctions, we start to see how the journey of an ordinary coin can become part of a remarkable story. Imagine a coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1994, just one of over 6.5 billion produced, leaving the presses with a perfect strike and lustrous red surfaces. This coin would have rolled off the conveyor belts into massive hoppers, then into counting machines, and finally into large bags for shipment to Federal Reserve banks. From there, most pennies are either wrapped into rolls for distribution or mixed into bulk currency shipments for circulation. The vast majority begin their lives in pockets, cash drawers, and bank deposits, where small nicks, scratches, and discoloration happen almost immediately. But a few escape this fate. Some coins are pulled aside at the very beginning, sometimes by mint employees, sometimes by coin dealers who purchase original bags directly from banks. These coins are preserved in original condition, often stored in bank-wrapped rolls or sealed in mint sets. A 1994 penny that avoided even the smallest blemish from the moment of minting might sit untouched for decades. It is these untouched survivors that have the potential to become auction highlights. Consider a scenario in which a dealer in the mid-2000s decides to break open a case of old mint rolls purchased in 1994 and stored away for years. As the rolls are opened, each coin is examined under magnification. The majority may be MS-65 or MS-66, a few might reach MS-67, but perhaps one coin stands out. The surfaces are pristine, the strike is sharp, the luster glows evenly across the coin, and not a single spot or blemish is visible. This coin is carefully placed into a protective flip and sent to a grading company. When it returns from the grading service in a slab labeled MS-69 red, it becomes something far more than a single cent. It is now a top population coin, potentially one of only a handful at that grade. The dealer knows that registry set collectors will be watching closely, especially those who already have MS-68 coins and are competing to own the very best. The coin is consigned to a major auction house, perhaps Heritage Auctions, which markets it heavily. Knowing the rarity of the grade. At the auction, bidding begins modestly but quickly escalates as serious collectors join in. A few $1,000s is surpassed, then $5,000, then perhaps even more depending on the bidding war. The final hammer price for a 1994 penny in MS-69 red might shock casual observers, but to those in the numismatic community, it reflects the market's recognition of extreme quality. This is where the journey becomes fascinating for a broader audience. The coin's value was never in its metal content. By 1994, the penny's composition was 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, worth less than a cent in raw materials. Its value was in its preservation, its rarity at the highest grade, and the collector demand that pushes prices upward in competitive markets. It's important to understand that these auction results do not mean every 1994 penny is valuable. Most remain worth face value. But they demonstrate that in a sea of billions, a few coins rise above the rest. It's a concept that resonates far beyond coin collecting, the idea that exceptional examples stand out and are rewarded. The $432 million claim tied to the 1994 penny, while clearly exaggerated, plays into this same idea. It grabs attention by taking the concept of rarity and turning it into an extreme story. While number 1994 penny will ever approach such a price, the narrative keeps people searching, keeps the hobby alive, and ensures that coins like the 1994 cent continue to be examined more closely than their modest appearance would suggest. From here, the story of the 1994 penny continues to intertwine with the stories of other coins that have gone from obscurity to fame. The coin may sit quietly in an auction archive, its sale recorded in catalogs, its image shared among collectors, and its price becoming a benchmark for future sales. Each time a similar grade appears, it draws on the legacy of those earlier results, creating a chain of value that stretches forward in time. Imagine now a single 1994 penny at the moment of its creation. Inside the vast coining facility of the Philadelphia Mint, the press is humming in relentless rhythm. Copper-plated zinc blanks are fed into the coining chamber in a perfectly timed mechanical ballet. Each blank is struck with a force of 35 tons, the obverse die pressing Lincoln's familiar profile into the metal, the reverse die stamping the intricate memorial design with its fine lines and columns. For most coins, the process is fast, functional, and without pause for beauty. But for this 1 cent, perhaps due to a perfectly prepared die, the strike is razor sharp. Every detail of Lincoln's hair, every shadow within the steps of the memorial, is captured flawlessly. The coin drops from the press into the hopper, still gleaming with fresh mint luster. Most coins will tumble against one another, developing microscopic nicks and contact marks before even leaving the mint. But this one, by a stroke of luck, avoids the harshest collisions. It rides near the top of the pile, avoiding the scuffs and scratches that will affect so many others. As bags of pennies are sealed for shipment, this coin finds itself in a lot that will eventually be purchased by a bank and then by a local coin dealer. The dealer, accustomed to acquiring fresh rolls, notices the overall high quality of the coins and decides to set them aside. Perhaps the rolls are stored in a safe deposit box, forgotten for years, while life goes on outside. In the decades that follow, most 1994 pennies enter circulation. They sit in cash registers, fall between couch cushions, pass through thousands of hands, are tossed into jars, or are left on sidewalks as pocket change of no consequence, but the coin in the safe deposit box rests untouched, preserved in the same flawless state as the day it was minted. It is not until many years later, perhaps in the 2020s, that the rolls are rediscovered. The dealer, now older, opens the box and begins inspecting the coins under bright magnification. Coin after coin is examined. Most are good, some are exceptional, and then one emerges that stops him in his tracks. It has the look of perfection, full blazing red luster, no carbon spots, no bag marks. It appears as though it has just left the press. This coin is carefully placed in an archival flip, then sent to a professional grading service. The graders examine it with painstaking care, knowing that a 1994 penny at this level of preservation is uncommon. When the verdict comes back as MS69 red, it instantly elevates the coin into a small and elite category. The population report shows perhaps only a handful graded at this level, and demand for such coins among registry set collectors is strong. The coin is listed at auction, and numismatic anticipation builds. Collectors track the listing, comparing it to previous high-grade sales. The auction opens, bids come in slowly at first, then accelerate as serious contenders engage. The price climbs into the thousands, not because the coin is rare in mintage but because it is rare in perfection. When the final hammer falls, the coin changes hands, its value confirmed not by internet rumors or viral headlines, but by real-world collector demand. This journey from mint to auction is what keeps the story of coins like the 1994 penny alive. Even in a world where billions of examples exist, a single flawless survivor becomes a piece of numismatic art. While the $432 million claim remains a fantasy, the underlying truth is that condition, rarity and grade, and collector interest can turn a common coin into something remarkable, and somewhere out there, perhaps in another forgotten roll, another perfect 1994 penny waits for its turn to be discovered. The psychology of coin collecting is as fascinating as the coins themselves, and the 1994 penny is a perfect lens through which to see it in action. A small copper-colored disc, almost invisible in daily life, becomes a spark for curiosity when a story about astronomical value appears online. It does not matter whether that story is grounded in fact. What matters is the idea that something overlooked and ordinary could hide unimaginable worth. That idea activates something deep in human nature, the desire to hunt, the hope for discovery, the thrill of finding treasure where no one else thought to look. In this sense, coins like the 1994 penny become cultural artifacts not only of their minting year but also of the eras in which their stories resurface. The internet age has given new life to old coins. Social media, YouTube videos, and sensational headlines keep certain dates in circulation far beyond their time in actual currency. A post claiming a 1994 penny is worth $432 million spreads rapidly, not because people believe the number without question, but because it reignites a dream that anyone, anywhere, could stumble across a life-changing find. Platforms like YouTube have become modern coin shops, in a sense, except instead of selling, they trade in attention, knowledge, and myth. A video thumbnail showing a glowing penny with a giant price tag draws in thousands of viewers. The narrator explains details of mint marks, grades, and varieties, sometimes with accuracy, sometimes with embellishment. But each viewer leaves with the seed of curiosity planted. They check their change. They search through old jars. They start looking at dates and details they had ignored for years. This activity feeds the collector market indirectly, as more people begin to care about coins, even if only a small fraction become serious collectors. In the world of numismatics, hype is not new. Decades before social media, sensational headlines and coin magazines ran bold claims about rare finds in circulation. The difference now is the speed and reach of information. A rumor about a valuable penny can circle the globe in hours. That global audience includes people in countries where US cents are exotic novelties, adding an extra layer of interest and demand. The 1994 penny benefits from this phenomenon, not because it is inherently rare, but because it has become part of a modern digital treasure hunt. Collectors understand the cycle. A headline brings attention, attention drives searches, searches increase submissions to grading services, and every so often, a genuinely rare high-grade example surfaces. This discovery becomes the proof point that fuels the next wave of interest. Even though the prices are far below the viral claims, the reality still feels exciting to those involved. A penny turning into hundreds or thousands of dollars is still a remarkable transformation. The psychology behind this is the same as it has always been in collecting: scarcity, competition, and story. A coin is valuable because few exist at its level of preservation, because collectors compete to own the best, and because each coin carries a story. The 1994 penny story now includes not only its original mintage but also decades of rediscovery in the internet age, and as long as people continue to make videos, share posts, and tell stories about coins worth unexpected fortunes, the cycle will keep turning. The 1994 penny, common in number but uncommon in perfection, will remain a subject of fascination. Even if 99.9% of them never rise above face value, the possibility, the dream, is enough to keep the search alive. The claim of a $432 million value for a single 1994 penny is more than just a number, it is a phenomenon, a kind of modern folklore that blends fact, fiction, and financial fantasy into one viral package. Why does this number persist despite being impossible in the real market? The answer lies in the way stories travel in the digital age. Numbers like $432 million are not meant to be believed literally, they are meant to spark curiosity, to create a hook so strong that someone will stop scrolling and click. The moment someone clicks, the myth has done its job, because now the listener is engaged. They are listening to details about mintage, design, weight, and condition, even if they started from a place of disbelief. In the real coin market, there has never been a 1994 penny remotely close to such a valuation. The highest recorded prices are for MS-69 red examples that sell for several $1,000s. But that doesn't diminish the fascination. The $432 million figure operates like the treasure maps of old, where an X marks the spot of a legendary fortune. The value is symbolic. It says that somewhere in the vast sea of common coins, there might be a prize so rare it defies normal expectations. For collectors, these exaggerated claims sometimes create frustration because they can mislead beginners. But they also create opportunity, because they bring new people into the hobby. A person who starts by searching for a $432 million penny might discover the beauty of coin design, the satisfaction of learning about varieties, and the thrill of cherry-picking valuable coins from circulation. Even if the mythical fortune never appears, real smaller treasures, coins worth hundreds or thousands, do exist and are found every year. The persistence of these myths also reflects something about value itself. In economics, value is determined not just by material but by perception, rarity, and demand. A diamond is valuable not because of its carbon but because of its rarity and the market that has been built around it. A painting sells for millions not because of the paint and canvas but because of the artist's place in history and the demand from collectors. In a similar way, the 1994 penny's value in online lore is built from perception. It becomes a cultural symbol, a kind of modern talisman for luck and the possibility of sudden wealth. In actual numismatic terms,